The hum of the fluorescent lights was the only sound in the 12th floor office. At 10:47 p.m., everyone else had gone home, except for Nina Torres. Her desk was a mess of sticky notes, half-empty coffee cups, and a screen glowing with the final slide of her presentation. She clicked Save for the 10th time in the last 15 minutes. The title read, Project Aurora, A New Dawn in Brand Identity. She leaned back, cracking her stiff neck, and whispered to herself, This is it. This is my shot. Her phone buzzed. A text from Tasha Kim. Still there? You're insane. Get some sleep, Torres. Nina smirked, typing back. Almost done. Just one more tweak. Outside her glass-walled office, the open floor plan lay in darkness. The only light came from the skyline beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. Somewhere below, sirens wailed, fading into the hum of the city. Nina stood, stretching, and went to refill her mug. On her way back, she froze. A shadow moved past the far end of the corridor, tall, broad-shouldered. She squinted, trying to make out the figure, but it was gone as quickly as it appeared. She shook her head. Probably security, she muttered. But when she sat back down, she noticed something odd. Her laptop's trackpad was moving by itself. Her heart jumped. Wait, what the hell? The cursor dragged across her screen, highlighted a block of text, and deleted it. She slammed the lid shut. The office fell silent again. Nina exhaled shakily and rubbed her temples. Too much caffeine, she told herself. I'm seeing things. Still, she saved the file to both her work drive and a USB stick she kept in her drawer. As she packed up, she glanced once more at the dark hallway. The silence felt heavier now. The next morning, the office smelled faintly of burnt coffee and printer toner. Nina walked in with a fresh cup in one hand and her laptop bag in the other. Early as always, said Mrs. Chen, the night janitor, pushing her cleaning cart past. Morning, Nina smiled politely. Mrs. Chen's eyes crinkled, but her voice was low. You work late too often. People notice. Nina chuckled. Only people I care about noticing are the ones in the boardroom. Mrs. Chen leaned closer. Lock your files. Not everyone smiles for the right reasons. Nina blinked. Excuse me. But Mrs. Chen was already wheeling her cart down the hall, humming softly. At her desk, Nina brushed it off. She opened her laptop, ready to put the finishing touches on her presentation before tomorrow's pitch. A ping interrupted her thoughts, an email notification. From Richard Vale. Subject, Aurora Presentation. Message, Great work on this. Sent it to the CEO. See you at tomorrow's meeting. Her stomach dropped. Sent to the CEO? She hadn't even finished it. Clicking the attachment, her hands shook. It was her presentation, her slides, her branding, her voice. Only, the author name in the file properties said Richard Vale. She stared at the screen, jaw tightening. Her phone lit up with a new email. This time from the CEO himself. Richard, brilliant work. Can't wait to see you present tomorrow. Nina whispered, What the hell is going on? Nina's fingers flew over the keyboard, opening file history. The presentation had been exported at 1:12 a.m. last night, hours after she'd left. Her heart pounded. No, no, no. She stormed to Tasha's desk. Tasha, you in? She hissed. Tasha looked up from her screen, startled. Geez, Nina. What's wrong? He stole it, Nina blurted. Richard stole my presentation. Tasha frowned. Wait, what? He somehow got my file and sent it to the CEO as his own. Look, she showed her the email. Tasha's mouth opened. Oh my God. That's slimy. She cut herself off, glancing around. Okay, keep your voice down. No. I'm not letting this go. Nina's voice was sharp. Tasha leaned in. Listen, I've heard rumors. Richard's done this before. 2 years ago, a guy in accounting. I don't care about rumors, Nina said, teeth clenched. I need proof. They were interrupted by a booming voice from across the office. Well, well, if it isn't my star junior exec. Richard strode toward them, wearing his signature smug grin. Nina stiffened. Richard. Morning. Big day tomorrow, he said cheerfully, clapping her on the shoulder. We're gonna blow them away. We? Nina asked, cold. Teamwork, Nina. You know how it is. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Oh, and don't worry about the boardroom tomorrow. I'll take care of the heavy lifting. He walked away without waiting for a reply. Tasha muttered under her breath, that man needs to trip over his own ego. Nina's hands curled into fists. I'm not letting him get away with this. The day dragged on. Every time Nina looked up from her desk, Richard was schmoozing with someone, laughing too loud, slapping backs, the picture of charm. By 3 p.m., Tasha appeared beside her desk. You didn't hear this from me, she whispered, but I heard him bragging to Todd from sales about how he pulled another rabbit out of the hat. Nina narrowed her eyes. Meaning he basically told Todd he swiped your work. Tasha smirked. I got it on my phone. Nina's eyes widened. Tasha, that's... Sure, Tasha warned, holding up a finger. Meet me in the break room. 5 minutes later, they sat at a corner table. Tasha slid her phone across. On the screen, Richard's voice played over the hum of office chatter. Kid works hard, but she doesn't know how to pitch. Better in my hands. CO eats this stuff up when I present. Nina's jaw clenched. That's it. That's the proof. Before Tasha could reply, a shadow fell over their table. Richard stood there, smiling like a predator. Ladies, enjoying your little gossip session? Tasha paled. Just lunch. Richard plucked her phone from the table. Mind if I borrow this? Hey! Tasha protested. He scrolled, smirked, and with a few taps, the recording was gone. He handed it back. Careful with those accidental recordings. Company policy, you know. He walked off, whistling. Nina's pulse thundered. He was covering his tracks faster than she could keep up. Tasha slumped in her chair. Well, that's it. He's untouchable. No, Nina said, voice low but firm. Nobody's untouchable. Tasha shook her head. You don't get it. People have tried to call him out before. They're either gone or still here, but miserable. I'm not afraid of him, Nina lied. They worked in tense silence for the next hour. Every laugh from Richard's side of the office felt like a knife twist. At 5:42 p.m., Nina stood, grabbing her bag. I'm staying late again. There has to be something in the system logs. Tasha's eyes widened. Nina, that's dangerous. If he catches you... I'll be careful, Nina said. Go home. By 9 p.m., the office was a ghost town again. Nina hunched over her screen, combing through network activity reports. Her eyes scanned line after line, then stopped. 1:07 a.m., user, r.vale, accessed, n.torres, projects, aurora.pptx. Her stomach flipped. She printed the log, tucking it into her folder. A creak echoed in the darkness. She froze. Working late again, Torres? She turned slowly. Richard stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets, smile cold. I could say the same to you, she replied evenly. Just making sure my team's doing their best work, he said, stepping closer. Don't burn yourself out. He walked past her toward the exit, then stopped. Oh, and Nina? Sometimes, knowing when to let things go is the smartest career move. The door clicked shut behind him. Nina stared at the folder in her hands. She wasn't letting this go. The office was dead quiet, save for the faint hum of the servers. It was nearly midnight when Nina swiped her keycard, the scanner beeping softly. She'd told Tasha she was going home hours ago, but the truth was, she couldn't sleep. Richard's smirk, his voice, that smug, let it go, it all replayed in her mind like a broken record. The elevator dinged on the 12th floor. The air felt colder up here. She crept toward her desk, laptop bag slung over her shoulder. Her plan was simple: recover her original file from the server logs, get undeniable proof, and keep it somewhere Richard couldn't touch. Nina dropped to her knees beside the server closet, typing in the master credentials she'd borrowed from an old help desk email. Come on, "Come on," she muttered. A creak echoed down the hallway. She froze, listening. The sound of soft, deliberate footsteps was drawing closer. Nina's heart pounded. She reached for her phone, but the light from a distant desk lamp flicked on, revealing a hunched silhouette rifling through drawers. "Who's there?" she called, her voice shaking. The figure jerked up. For a moment, she thought it was Richard, but no. The stooped shoulders, the small frame. It was Mrs. Chen. "Mrs. Chen, what are you doing here?" The janitor straightened, a USB drive in her hand. "I could ask you the same, Miss Torres." I'm just finishing work." Mrs. Chen's eyes narrowed. "At midnight?" Nina hesitated. "Someone stole my work. I'm trying to prove it." Mrs. Chen stepped closer, pressing the USB into her palm. "You're going to need this." "What is it?" Nina asked. "Proof." Mrs. Chen's gaze flicked toward the shadows behind them. "But be careful. He's not the only one watching." Before Nina could respond, Mrs. Chen was gone, leaving the faint scent of lemon cleaner and mystery in her wake. Hook. Nina plugged the drive into her laptop, and her breath caught at what she saw. The screen flickered to life. Folders labeled by date. She clicked the one for last night, and there it was, 12:58 a.m., securitycam_12F MP4. Her cursor hovered for a beat before she clicked. Grainy footage filled the screen. The boardroom lay empty, until the door swung open and Richard stepped inside. He moved quickly, glancing over his shoulder before pulling a key from his pocket and unlocking Nina's office. Nina's stomach turned as she watched him slide into her chair, boot up her laptop, and scroll through her folders. His movements were methodical, practiced. On the footage, Richard leaned forward, eyes gleaming as he opened Project Aurora. He inserted his own USB, copied the file, and even renamed it under his own initials. "Got you," Nina whispered. Then the footage showed something she didn't expect, Richard pausing at her final slide, frowning and making changes, removing a small watermark she'd tucked into the corner. But the timestamp told the bigger story. He had accessed the file before she'd made her final edits. Her hands trembled as she ejected the drive. "This is it. This is the nail in his coffin." She shoved the USB into her pocket, just as the elevator dinged. Nina's head shot up. The sound of polished shoes on tile echoed closer. She recognized the confident, unhurried rhythm immediately. Richard. Panic surged through her. She slammed her laptop shut, killed the desk lamp, and slipped into the shadows near the break room. Richard's silhouette appeared, striding toward her desk. He glanced at the server closet, then at her chair, touching the backrest with an odd possessiveness. After a moment, he pulled out his phone and muttered into it. "She's getting desperate. Keep an eye on her." Nina's pulse raced. Who was he talking to? He left without noticing her. She exhaled shakily, stepping back into the dim light, clutching the USB like it was a lifeline. The next morning, Nina met Tasha at their usual corner in the cafe across from the office. "You look like you haven't slept in a week," Tasha said, sipping her chai. "Didn't," Nina replied flatly. She slid the USB across the table. "Security footage. Him, in my office, stealing my file." Tasha's eyes widened. "Holy crap. You actually got it. Thanks to Mrs. Chen." Tasha frowned. "Wait, the janitor?" "Yeah, she knew. She's been watching him too." They huddled over Nina's laptop, watching the grainy footage together. Tasha slammed her hand on the table. "This is it, Nina. This is your smoking gun." Nina nodded, but her mind raced. "If I go straight to the CEO, Richard will spin it. He's been here for years. They trust him. So what's your plan?" "I need to catch him in a way he can't deny, live in front of them." Tasha's lips curled into a grin. "Oh, I like where this is going." Their plotting was cut short by a buzz from Nina's phone. An email from IT. Subject: Security Breach Alert. User N.Torres. Message: Unauthorized remote access detected at 2:14 a.m. Her blood ran cold. "He's in my files again. What's he looking for now?" Tasha asked. "My guess. The footage." They exchanged a look, and both stood abruptly. "We have to move fast," Nina said. By the time Nina reached her desk, her stomach dropped. Her laptop was open, but the screen was black, coffee dripping down the keyboard. The smell was sharp and bitter. Someone had poured an entire mug over it. Nina's pulse roared in her ears. She yanked the power cable, but it was too late. The machine was fried. "Wow," Richard's voice came from behind her. "You really should be more careful with your coffee, Torres." She turned slowly, forcing a smile. "Accidents happen, right?" He tilted his head. "Sometimes, sometimes not." Her fingers itched to slap the smirk off his face. "Instead," she said, "lucky for me, I keep backups." His eyes narrowed, just slightly, before the smirk returned. "Backups can get lost." As he walked away, Nina realized the truth. The only copy of the footage was on the USB Mrs. Chen gave her. Or so Richard thought. That night, she met Tasha in the parking garage. Tasha popped open her bag and pulled out another USB. "Made a copy the second you handed it to me yesterday. Just in case." Nina exhaled in relief. "You're a lifesaver. You still thinking about catching him live?" "Oh yeah," Nina said. "And I know exactly how." They met in the stairwell the next morning, voices low. "I didn't tell you everything yesterday," Tasha said. "When I copied the footage, I also grabbed your original presentation file from the network archive." Nina frowned. "Why?" "Because I noticed something. You left a hidden slide in there." Nina's eyes widened. "The one with the coded brand analysis? The one only I can explain?" "Exactly," Tasha grinned. "Richard's been parading your work like it's his, but when he hits that slide, he's gonna choke." Nina laughed, the first real laugh in days. "This could work." "Better than work," Tasha said. "This could bury him." They refined the plan all morning. Nina would slip the hidden slide back into the version on the company server, just before Richard's big pitch. She'd be, coincidentally, invited into the boardroom, and when he inevitably stumbled, she'd step in with a perfect explanation. But there was one problem. "Richard's paranoid now," Nina said. "If he catches me touching that file." "That's why I'll do it," Tasha interrupted. "I'll change it from my workstation. No one will suspect." By lunch, the trap was set. The rest of the day passed in a tense blur. At 5:30 p.m., Nina left early for the first time all week, knowing Tasha was upstairs executing the swap. At 7:42 p.m., her phone buzzed with a text. "Tasha, it's in. Tomorrow's going to be fun." Nina grinned, unaware that across the city, Richard was on his phone too, murmuring, "She thinks she's got me cornered. Time to remind her who runs this game." The morning buzz in the office was electric. Richard strode through the open floor plan in a tailored navy suit, greeting colleagues like a politician on campaign day. His confidence was unshakable, or so it seemed. Nina arrived quietly, dressed in a simple black blazer, her expression unreadable. She had no seat at the table today, officially, but Tasha had assured her, "When the moment comes, I'll text you." The boardroom was a glass-walled arena on the far side of the floor. Through the transparent wall, Nina could see the heavy hitters of the company already gathering: the CEO, senior managers, and, to her surprise, Eli Ramirez, the creative director from a major rival firm. "What is he doing here?" Nina whispered to herself. Tasha appeared beside her. "He's here to evaluate partnerships." "Guess who invited him?" "Richard." Nina smirked. "Perfect. He's about to see the real deal." Inside, Richard began his pitch with the easy charisma of a man who believed the room belonged to him. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, clicking the remote, "what you're about to see will revolutionize our brand. I call it Project Aurora." Slide after slide lit up the screen. Nina watched from outside the glass, every muscle tense. She knew exactly what was coming. Eli leaned forward, visibly impressed. "Interesting approach to rebranding," he said. Richard's chest puffed up. "Wait until you see the data models." And then, the hidden slide appeared. It was a dense web of coded market analysis, elegant but cryptic. Richard froze for just a fraction of a second, his confident rhythm faltering. Richard cleared his throat. As you can see, this, represents our, He fumbled with the clicker, as if the slide might magically change itself. Beads of sweat appeared at his temple. The CEO's brow furrowed. Richard, what does this mean? Richard's smile was brittle. Well, it's, a proprietary. It's a cluster analysis, Nina said, stepping into the room. All eyes turned to her. Richard's jaw tightened. Nina, this is a segmentation map of our target demographics, Nina continued smoothly, walking toward the screen. Each color-coded node represents a behavioral archetype within our customer base. This model predicts brand engagement with over 90% accuracy. She tapped the slide with a fingertip. I designed it to be interactive. The data updates in real time based on live market feeds. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the room. Eli leaned back, smiling. The CEO turned to Richard. You didn't mention this. Richard's voice was tight. It wasn't relevant to the overview. It's the foundation of the entire campaign, Nina cut in. Without it, everything else falls apart. The CEO's gaze was like ice. Richard. My office. No. The door shut behind Richard and the CEO, muffling their voices. The rest of the boardroom buzzed with speculation. Eli walked over to Nina. That was impressive. You know, most people would have let him choke. I didn't come here to watch, Nina replied. I came here to take back what's mine. Eli's smile deepened. I like that. I could use someone like you. Nina raised a brow. Is that a job offer? Consider it the start of a conversation, Eli said. You've got vision. And guts. Before she could answer, the door slammed open. Richard emerged, his face flushed, the CEO right behind him. Richard, the CEO said loudly, we'll reconvene after I review all the evidence. Nina, I want to see you in my office at 2 o'clock. Richard shot her a look that could curdle blood. This isn't over. Nina held his gaze. Oh, it's far from over. At exactly 2 o'clock, Nina entered the CEO's office. Tasha was there too, sitting stiffly on the edge of a chair. A large screen on the wall showed the grainy security footage Mrs. Chen had given her. The CEO hit play. On the screen, Richard was caught in crystal-clear guilt, breaking into her office, stealing the file, erasing her watermark. When the footage ended, the CEO leaned back. Well, that's pretty damning. Richard stood across from them, his hands clasped behind his back. This is taken out of context. I was stealing my work, Nina said flatly. Richard's voice sharpened. Watch your tone, Torres. You don't know how the game is played. Maybe not, Nina said, but I know cheating when I see it. The CEO's eyes moved between them. Richard, I'm suspending you pending a full investigation. Richard smirked. Suspend me? After everything I've brought to this company? You'll regret that. He turned on his heel and walked out without another word. The CEO sighed, rubbing his temples. Nina, I owe you an apology. And a thank you. Tasha grinned. Told you she was the real deal. By the next morning, whispers flooded the office. Word of the confrontation had spread like wildfire. People who had barely noticed Nina before now watched her with curiosity and a hint of respect. Richard, meanwhile, was a ghost, absent from his glass-walled corner office. But his presence lingered in hushed conversations. In the cafeteria, 2 junior staffers whispered loudly enough for Nina to hear. They say she showed the CEO proof he was stealing her work. About time someone took him down a peg. Tasha sat beside Nina, smirking. Feels good, doesn't it? Feels dangerous, Nina replied. He's not done. Sure enough, her phone buzzed with an unknown number. Text, enjoy the spotlight while you can. It won't last. OR. Nina locked the phone and looked at Tasha. He's still playing. Then we keep playing, Tasha said. Only difference is, now the crowd's on your side. That afternoon, the CEO called an all-hands meeting. In front of the entire company, and Eli Ramirez. He commended Nina's work and publicly credited her as the creator of Project Aurora. The applause was thunderous. Eli caught her eye from across the room, mouthing, "Call me." As the meeting broke up, Nina felt a rush of satisfaction, but under it, a current of unease. Richard had been humiliated. And a man like that didn't forgive. 2 days after the CEO's public commendation, Nina sat in his office with a contract in front of her, a promotion to senior creative director. A dream role. But she didn't sign. The CEO frowned. Something wrong. Nina leaned back. Richard's old title, creative director. That's what I want. And not just the title, full control over my team, my projects, my budget. The CEO hesitated. That's a lot of responsibility. I've already been doing the work, Nina said. I just want the authority to match. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. I'll consider it. But Richard's position is complicated. He still has allies here. I'm aware, Nina said. Which is why I need your backing, publicly. The meeting ended with no promises. As she left, she found Eli leaning casually against the wall outside. Ambitious, he said with a smirk. Determined, Nina corrected. You'd fit in well at my firm, Eli said. We don't hold on to dead weight. Appreciate the offer, Nina said. But I'm not leaving. Not yet. Eli chuckled. Then watch your back. Men like Richard don't go quietly. She didn't know how right he was, until she got home that night and found a plain envelope on her doorstep. Inside was a single sheet of paper. A bank transfer record, $25,000 from a consulting firm to an account in her name. An account she'd never opened. At the bottom, a typed note. Fraud looks bad on a resume. The next morning, Nina stormed into the office, the envelope in hand. She found Richard in the lobby, chatting with 2 senior managers. We need to talk, she said, her voice cutting through the room. Richard turned, smirking. Always a pleasure, Torres. What's on your mind? She shoved the paper toward him. You think you're clever? Opening an account in my name. He glanced at it, feigning confusion. That's serious, Nina. I hope you're not accusing me without proof. I've got proof, she shot back. Digital fingerprints are hard to erase. His smirk sharpened. So take it to the CEO. Tell him his Golden Girl's already being investigated by the bank. Why? She asked, voice low. Why keep going? Richard stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. Because you embarrassed me. In front of everyone. And no one does that without paying. Before she could reply, the CEO's voice called from across the lobby. Nina, Richard, my office. Now. They followed him upstairs. The air was thick with tension. I'm tired of this feud, the CEO said. Richard, effective immediately, you're terminated. Richard's face didn't fall. Instead, he smiled. You think firing me ends this? You've just made me a free agent. He turned to Nina. Enjoy your little victory lap. I'll be watching. And with that, he walked out, leaving a silence that felt heavier than any shouting match. A week passed. Richard was gone from the office, but not from Nina's life. It started with strange emails, anonymous tips sent to the CEO, claiming Nina had been inflating her project budgets. Then came a rumor that she was negotiating secretly with Eli's firm to sell company secrets. None of it was true, but it kept her in a constant state of defense. One Thursday morning, she arrived to find an envelope on her desk, no name, no return address. Inside, a letter. Your CEO isn't as clean as you think. Financial misconduct. Offshore accounts. You can bury him, if you have the stomach for it. OR. Attached was a flash drive. Tasha found her staring at it. What's that? Bait, Nina said. You're not seriously thinking of plugging that in? Nina pocketed the drive. I'm thinking of finding out how far he's willing to go. That night, in the privacy of her apartment, she opened the drive on an offline laptop. Inside were spreadsheets, emails, and scanned bank statements, all pointing to questionable transfers involving the CEO's personal accounts. If it was fake, it was detailed. If it was real, it could destroy the company. Her phone buzzed with a single text from an unknown number. Now you have a choice. For 3 days, Nina sat on the information. She barely slept, weighing the risks. On one hand, exposing the CEO could be the ultimate revenge against the system that had protected Richard for so long. On the other, it would burn everything she'd worked for, and hurt innocent people at the company. Friday morning, Eli called. "Still thinking about my offer?" "Why?" she asked cautiously. "Because I heard about a certain financial irregularity," Eli said. "I'm not the only one who knows. But I could help you leverage it." Nina's chest tightened. "And what do you get out of it?" "You," Eli said simply. "On my team. Leading major accounts. Name your salary." She hesitated, then said, "I'll think about it." Instead of deciding right away, she called a private meeting with the CEO. "I know Richard's been trying to bait me into a war," Nina said. "I'm not interested." The CEO leaned forward. "Then what do you want?" "A partnership," Nina said. "Between us and Eli's firm. I lead it. We make Aurora bigger than anything Richard could ever dream of." The CEO studied her for a long moment, then smiled. "Done." The partnership launch was a media event. Cameras flashed, reporters crowded the atrium, and Nina stood center stage beside the CEO and Eli, smiling for the press. In the crowd, she caught sight of Mrs. Chen, standing near the back with her cart, watching quietly. After the event, Mrs. Chen approached her. "Congratulations, Miss Torres." "Thank you," Nina said. "And thank you. I couldn't have done this without you." Mrs. Chen handed her a small envelope. "One last thing you should see." Inside was a USB, identical to the one she'd given her before. "What's on it?" Nina asked. Mrs. Chen's eyes were unreadable. "The rest of the footage." Back in her office, Nina closed the door and plugged it in. The video began where the last footage ended, Richard leaving her desk. But instead of going home, he entered another office, the CEO's. Inside, the two men shook hands, passing a folder between them. Richard placed a check on the desk. Nina's stomach dropped. In the final seconds, the CEO leaned toward Richard and said, clear as day, "Make sure she never finds out." The screen went black. Nina sat back, heart pounding. The game wasn't over, it had just gone deeper. Final hook. Viewers would leave knowing there's a whole new season of betrayal, alliances, and revenge waiting to unfold.